An outspoken new leader takes the stage. He hurls abuse at his political enemies. He suggests that politicians are worthless. He questions the right of mere judges to stand in his way. He says it's time to put the people back in the driver's seat. Ring any bells? Anyone with the slightest knowledge of history, or for that matter current events, can't fail to hear unpleasant echoes in Doug Ford's early performance as Premier of Ontario. Populist leaders of every time and place sing a similar tune. They rail against chattering politicians and naysaying judges. They condemn powerful luxury-loving elites. They say the media is out to get them. They insist the whole political system is a hopeless mess. They offer to sweep it all away minus to drain the swamp, to stop the gravy train, in the name of the common folk. Mr. Ford's government for the people is hitting many of the usual notes. His much disputed legislation slashing the number of city councillors in Toronto was a steel-toed boot aimed straight at the political class. No one wants more politicians, Mr. Ford said. All they do down there at City Hall is talk, talk, talk. Their meetings are a comedy show. They never get anything done. So off with their heads. As for judges, Mr. Ford insists he has the utmost respect for them. Except when they stand in his way. In that case, he is willing to use any tool in his toolbox to overrule them, including the sledgehammer that is the notwithstanding clause of the Constitution. After all, he is elected and judges are not. Exploiting hostility against corrupt politicians is a favorite tactic of the populist. So is questioning the neutrality, even the legitimacy, of the courts. Leaders from Italy's Silvio Berlusconi to Hungary's Viktor Orban have claimed that unelected judges are persecuting them or blocking their reforms. Donald Trump, Mr. Ford's American cousin, has often poured scorn on judges whose rulings thwarted him. Mr. Ford is not in Mr. Trump's league. The U.S. president is in a league of his own. But Mr. Ford's behavior since he was elected suggests he has many of the same qualities. He sounded awfully Trumpian when he stood in the Ontario legislature this month to call out old foes from City Hall as crony buddies of NDP leader Andrea Horwath. And this is only the beginning. Mr. Ford has been in power for less than 3 months. Fortunately, there are limits on what he can do. The outcry that greeted his bully boy tactics in the Toronto Council drama showed that he can expect stiff resistance if he pulls stunts like that again. Canada's democratic institutions are strong. Its constitution, enforced by an independent judiciary, puts limits on what any politician can get away with. Most voters chose Mr. Ford because they wanted to toss out a smug and improvident Liberal government, not because they wanted a Trump of the North. But even if Mr. Ford doesn't threaten our democracy, he could degrade our politics. Suggesting that politicians as a group are useless, self-serving dithers only deepens the cynicism that already infects political life. While some may fit the bill well enough, most are good people who are trying to make a difference. Casting doubt on the authority of judges could undermine the rule of law on which our freedoms depend. Governments have every right to appeal if they think a judge's ruling is out of line. So listen for the echoes when Mr. Ford next goes on the warpath. Prick up your ears if he says the media is ganging up on him. Pay attention if he says that judges are getting above their station. Pay attention if he says that politicians are only trying to feather their own nests. Pay attention when he says the country/province/city is falling apart and needs a strong leader to set things straight. Be wary when he says he is for the people, as if only he can channel their will. We have seen all of this before. We are seeing it today, from Hungary to Turkey to the Philippines. Now populism has a beachhead in Canada. Let's all be on our guard.